Good morning, dear children. Welcome to the digital class. In the previous session, we have worked with the reading text, "What is man without the beast?" It was an excellent speech delivered by the Red Chief of Seattle. In his speech, the Red Indian Chief accentuates the importance of the conservation of the natural resources. We can neither sell nor buy the sky, the land, the air, or the warmth of the land. We are just part of nature, which is inherited from our ancestors. We, like other animals and birds, share nature. Man is so foolish that he is destroying nature, damaging the resources and killing other creatures. Earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. He is a strand in the web of life. One day, man will disappear, as many species have already disappeared. This is the gist of the reading text. In today's session, we are going to work with the verb phrase. The objectives of the session are to enable the learners to know about the word order in the sentences, to enable them to know about the features of the verb phrase, to enable them to know what the verb phrase is marked for, to enable them to know about auxiliary verbs, pure auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries, to enable them to know the concepts of time, tense, aspect and modality, and to enable them to know the various functions of auxiliary verbs, to enable them to know the functional aspects of the tenses, present simple and present progressive, present perfect and simple past and past progressive, and simple past and past perfect. We know that a sentence can be split into two categories, the subject and the predicate. The subject gives information about the agent of the action, whereas the predicate gives information about the subject, means what the subject has done. Let us consider these sentences. Man belongs to nature. We are part of nature. The rivers of our brothers quench our thirst. Swimming is good for health. How he reacts is a mystery. Here we can look into the sentences and find what can be placed in the place of subject. Basically, a noun or a noun phrase or a pronoun or a gerund or even a clause can function as the subject of the sentence. Let us consider these sentences. In the first sentence, man belongs to nature. Man is the subject, which is the noun. In the second sentence, we are part of nature, in which we functions as the subject, which is a pronoun. In the third sentence, the rivers of our brothers quench our thirst, in which the noun phrase, the rivers of our brothers, functions as the subject. In the fourth sentence, swimming is good for health, in which the gerund swimming functions as the subject. And in the fifth sentence, how he reacts is a mystery, in which the clause how he reacts functions as the subject. So, basically we have already told that a sentence can be split into two categories, the subject and the predicate. So, once we have identified the subject, the leftover part functions as the predicate of the sentence. In some sentences, particularly imperatives like stand, come here, go there, the subject is understood. For example, if somebody says go there, the sentence begins with the verb, but the subject is understood as you. Such structures are found in case of requests, commands and orders, and we call them imperatives. So, the verb phrase is the initial element of the predicate, and the verb phrase is marked for tense, modality and aspect. We all know that time is a universal non-linguistic concept with three terms: past, present and future, whereas tense is the correspondence between time and the form of the verb. Aspect is the manner in which the verbal action is experienced. It can be progressive or incomplete, or perfective or completed, whereas modality or mood, it is the verbal action related to the condition such as ability, possibility, necessity, etc. Let us analyze these sentences. The rivers feed our children. We have already said the rivers is the subject and feed our children is predicate, and feed, which is the verb, is the initial element of the predicate. And if we consider this sentence in terms of time, tense and aspect, we can see feed is the verb, it is in simple present, and if we see the time, it is universal or general time. When we talk about habitual actions like Suresh gets up at 6 o'clock, or facts like the sun rises in the east, of course, these sentences are in simple present, but they always refer to general time or universal time. And here is another sentence: India wins the ICC trophy. We find such sentences as news headlines. Here time is past or immediate past, whereas the tense is present. And here is another sentence: we have just come here. We all know that it is completed action. It refers to past time, but the tense is present and the aspect is perfect. So, we can say it is in present perfect tense, but it refers to past or completed action. And here is another sentence: the minister is visiting Hyderabad next month. It is a planned action. So, it refers to future time, but it is in present progressive tense. We can refer to future actions in many ways. For example, my brother is coming tomorrow, my brother will come tomorrow. There is not much difference between these two sentences in terms of meaning, but there is difference in terms of tense. If I say my brother is coming tomorrow, means it is a planned action. He has already got his tickets reserved and it is sure that he is coming tomorrow. Whereas in the second sentence, my brother will come tomorrow, it is not planned. There is a chance that he may come tomorrow. We will talk about modals in the following slot. Let us analyze these sentences. Ravi plays cricket and Ravi is playing in the garden. We can say that the first sentence, Ravi plays cricket, it refers to general time, it is the habit and tense is present. And in the second sentence, Ravi is playing in the garden, it is time present, tense also present and the aspect is progressive or ongoing. It means the action is going on. Here is another pair of sentences. Pawan is painting the house, Pawan has cleaned the room. If we analyze these sentences, Pawan is painting the house, the time is present, tense is present, whereas aspect is progressive or incomplete. In the second sentence, Pawan has cleaned the room, time is past, the action is over, whereas tense is present and the aspect is perfective or completed. So, we have come to know that there is difference between time and tense. Time is a concept, whereas tense explains how the concept of time affects the verb form. Broadly speaking, we have two categories of verbs: auxiliaries or helping verbs and lexical verbs or main verbs. Let us see how they function in language. Auxiliary verbs are known as helping verbs. Again, we can categorize them into two types: pure auxiliaries, which are marked exclusively for tense and they need agreement with the subject, whereas modal auxiliary verbs, they explain the condition and they do not need agreement with the subject. Let us analyze these sentences. It is raining now, it may rain today. These two sentences seem to be the same in terms of meaning. It is raining now, here the auxiliary verb is and it indicates incomplete action, whereas in the second sentence, it may rain today, the modal auxiliary verb may indicates possibility. Here is another pair of sentences: we should go there tomorrow, we must go there tomorrow. The first sentence, we should go there tomorrow, explains an obligation, whereas the second sentence, we must go there tomorrow, it is an order and we were told to be there by tomorrow. Here is another pair of sentences: Ravi must have polished his shoes, Ravi must have his shoes polished. If we see the first sentence, Ravi must have polished his shoes, it is not a suggestion or any order. When do we use such a sentence? We have seen Ravi's shoes are shining and we can say Ravi must have polished his shoes. It is a strong guess, whereas in the second sentence, Ravi must have his shoes polished, means his shoes are very dirty and they need to be polished. So, second sentence can be a suggestion. Consider these sentences: Kiran can swim and Kiran could swim, Kiran was able to swim. The first sentence, Kiran can swim, talks about ability and Kiran has the ability to swim. The second sentence, Kiran could swim, talks about past ability. We may understand that now Kiran may not be able to swim, whereas third sentence, Kiran was able to swim, refers to past action. Here very important, past ability is different from past action. If we say Kiran could swim, means it was his ability, we do not know whether Kiran swam or not, whereas Kiran was able to swim means the action happened, and this is how modals change the meaning in sentences. Let us analyze these sentences. Shirisha has completed homework, Shirisha completed homework an hour ago. Of course, these two sentences refer to past time, but not the tense. Let us see how they function. So, the first sentence, Shirisha has completed homework, here time is past, tense is present, but we do not know when Shirisha completed homework, whereas in the second sentence, Shirisha completed homework an hour ago. The time is past, tense is also past, because the verb is affected by the adverb ago. So far we have come across time, tense and aspect. Now, we have to see how the verbs can be combined into different clauses. Consider these sentences: as soon as it stopped raining, we continued our journey. It is a sentence in which we can find two clauses. See how they affect the meaning. The two clauses, it stopped raining and we continued our journey, refer to two immediate actions. So, both are in the simple past tense, and here we do not know which is the first action or which is the second action, because the gap between the two actions is very slight. So, we assume that these two actions happened at the same time. Here is another sentence. The telephone rang when we were playing in the garden. The two clauses, the telephone rang and we were playing in the garden, refer to past actions. However, the first clause refers to shorter action, which is in simple past tense, and the second clause refers to longer action or past progressive. And we can understand that one action was going on, whereas the second action happened. Similarly, we can give one sentence like, I saw an accident while I was crossing the road. So, here the longer action is I was crossing the road, and the shorter action is I saw an accident. Here is another sentence. The match had started before we reached the stadium. The two clauses, the match had started and we reached the stadium, refer to two past actions. However, they are not immediate actions. There is gap of time between these two actions. We can say that the match had started is the first action and we reached the stadium is the second action. So, when we combine, the first action should be in the past perfect and the second action is in simple past. We can give another sentence like, when I reached the station, the train had already left, and when the police came, the thief had already escaped. In these examples, we can see one is the first action and one is the second action. So, what are we going to do with verb phrase? It is very important that the verb phrase is marked for tense, aspect, time and modality. So, when we take up the process of editing, we will have to see that the tense is proper. Moreover, there must be agreement between the subject and the verb, and the agreement features in particular PNG features, means person, number and gender. Of course, as far as English is concerned, person and number are very important, and the gender, it hardly affects the verb. Let us see this. While editing the text, we have to see the following points: the agreement between the subject and the verb or verb phrase, and choice of the tense, it may be present or past. When we take up a passage, it should be either in the present tense or in the past tense or in the future tense. What I mean to say is, unity is very important, and appropriate use of auxiliary verbs in the verb phrases. Let us see the passage which is extracted from our reading text. We can see that some sentences are numbered and each numbered sentence has errors. We will have to see the errors in terms of tenses and we have to correct them. Let us look at the first sentence. The heirs are precious to the red man. It is wrong, and it should be said as the heir is precious to the red man. The point is that the heir is uncountable, and when the heir is uncountable, there must be agreement between the subject and the verb. The verb should be singular. So, the right answer is the heir is precious to the red man. Let us look at the second sentence. For all things shares the same breath. The correct version of this sentence is, for all things share the same breath. All things is plural. The verb should have agreement with the number feature. Let us see the third sentence. They all shared the same breath. The correct version is, they all share the same breath. The passage is in simple present tense. There should be unity of time. Let us see the fourth sentence. The white man do not seem to notice the air he breathes. The correct version of the sentence is, The white man does not seem to notice the air he breathes. The verb should agree with the subject and tense. Let us look at the fifth sentence. Like a man dying for many days, he were numb to the stench. This sentence is wrong, and the right version of the sentence is, like a man dying for many days, he is numb to the stench. The problem is, the verb should agree with the subject and tense. Dear children, when we take up editing, we will have to see that the proper tense is used, and we will have to see that the subject and the verb should agree in each sentence. When we are working with present progressive, past progressive, present perfect or past perfect, we will have to see that the proper auxiliary verbs are used. This helps us in editing. Dear children, in today's session, we have worked with the verb phrase, we have come across the elements of verb phrase, and we have seen the features of verb phrase, particularly tense, modal and aspect, and we have worked with certain combinations of verb phrases in sentences. That is all for us today. Have a nice day.